Matamu
Welcome to the Matamu podcast. It's Matamu Vibes, and inshallah, as we've been doing, we're just gonna keep doing this thing because, my friends, I don't have time. I don't have time, but I'm happy that you're listening to the Matamu podcast. As always, we are available everywhere, including on Apple Podcasts. You just search Matamu and you'll find us. It's me in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania today. We are bringing you a very, very, very special guest. Karibu sana Nat.
Asante sana.
And I feel like I will not do justice to introduce you. So please introduce yourself.
Well, I am from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And long story short, I am a foodie. However, I believe I enjoy my food a little bit differently, because not only am I a diabetic, I'm also a post-transplant patient. Mm-hmm. So there are certain foods that I can and cannot eat, and I surely have to enjoy food in moderation as well.
Absolutely.
Due to my diabetes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm curious. I have so many questions, but I'm just going to keep them.
Not a problem.
Just keep a few of them.
I'm an open book, no worries.
How has it been for you adjusting from pre-transplant to now post-transplant in terms of what you eat, adding in the whole diabetes thing? How has your food really evolved with you through these processes?
Honestly, I do miss a lot of things because I used to eat a lot of food outside. Uh-huh. So, all these foods from the side of the road or certain restaurants. So as a post-transplant patient, you kind of have to be careful with where you eat because you need to know how the food is prepared. Yes. Everything that has been prepared has to be properly washed and cleaned before. Wow. And everything has to be cooked to the maximum temperature, so boiling temperature. You can't eat anything uncooked or raw or undercooked, so everything has to be properly cooked. Wow. So I have to really be careful with, because I really enjoyed side road foods. So I either have to cut down or completely stop because that's a risk that I'm not willing to take because the repercussions, are quite bad because I do end up being in the hospital for a few days. Okay. Yeah.
Knowing that Tanzania has a very vibrant street food culture, have you been able to bring elements of that street food into your feeding, like what you eat now, or it's just been like...
Well, to be honest, I just have to pick places to eat. So in terms of street food, I decided not to eat from there. Okay. And if I do, I really try going to a place that I've eaten before, still after my transplant, eaten before, and I've noticed I've not gotten sick. Okay. Otherwise, I pick restaurants where you are kind of more sure that they're gonna have pretty clean food.
Okay. That's actually pretty cool. For the benefit of my guests, I'm going to mention that Nat is actually legally blind, and I'm really happy to have her here on the podcast just to give us a very different perspective on food. Because for most people, food starts with what they see, like they look at this juicy, I'm going to say it like that, juicy chicken.
That's true.
And then that's what,
the eyes do the talking.
The eyes do it. So I'm curious for you, how, since you lost your eyesight, how has it been, how has been your food experience? What are the foods that you find yourself enjoying more now? And asking for myself, do you find that certain flavors are standing out more in comparison to before?
So I should probably start off by saying I only recently lost my eyesight. So I would say about 2 years now.
Yes.
And there is a misconception that your other senses are heightened.
Yes.
But unfortunately, that's not really true. It's just you tend to depend more on the other senses that are, that you're able to use.
Yes, yes.
So depending on the situation. So for example, when I go to a restaurant, it's my smell. I make use of my smell. So if I feel like that smells really good, that's like, okay, I want to try that.
That one.
Yes, that's the one. And also because I wasn't born blind, I kind of have an idea of how food already looks like.
Yes, yes.
So it's not completely new to me. It's just now I just have to depend more on my nose when I'm deciding on what to eat.
Yes.
And then I also do have great family and friends, like family members and friends who do have a good way of describing things to me.
Yes.
So that's also another great thing about having friends and family, because they do tend to describe things the best way they can. And then you're able to visualize it, and then you're like, okay, that kind of sounds like something I would like to try.
Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't really, nothing really tastes different. But yeah, I just have to depend more on my sense of smell. My sense of smell, exactly.
Thank you for clearing up that misconception. I've heard it a lot, and it's that's why I said, like, I'm really happy that you're here today. So let's talk favorite foods, if you do not mind.
Not at all.
Growing up, what was the food that you loved?
Oh wow. Okay, so I used to go to Arusha a lot because my mom is from Arusha. She's from Chaga. So Ndizi was Ndizi Mukoba is what she really, really loved. And then because she used to make it all the time, my grandma, she used to make it all the time. That is what I learned to love. Like, I learned to love it so much. So that's what I loved eating growing up. But because that's not really a popular meal here in Dar, I came to love biryani and pilau more. Pilau not so much, although it is an alternative to biryani, because you always have either or, but biryani is actually my favorite right now.
Okay.
Yes, in terms of African food at least, but I do have other cuisines that are like on the top of my list.
Okay. For our non-African listeners, ndizi is plantain. And Tanzanians have a very, very, very beautiful way of making it. I had some yesterday, and I'm still thinking about it until now.
Hope they made it with coconut milk, because you can't go wrong with that.
My friend, nothing slapped.
Yup.
It's so good. It's so good.
I agree.
Okay. I'm curious. When you've spoken about your grandmother, is there any food-related incident that happened in one of those times that you went? In a previous episode, I spoke about how my grandma used to make sure that every single morning, despite us living quite a bit far away from town, there was always a loaf of bread. And she would go out into the chicken coop and get 2 eggs and crack them and fry them over an open flame, right? So the eggs would get that smokiness from the wood, and that, and some blue band on the bread, and some very, very thick, creamy tea. That's the memory, the strongest memory I have of my grandmother. I don't know if there's a similar one you may have of yours.
Kind of. I remember, because we were young, but even, God bless her soul, but she's passed away now. But I remember even in our adult years, when we used to visit her, there was always tea time.
Oh, yes.
So with her, it was always milk tea. And for some reason, the milk there tasted really different. So the milk tea tasted, I don't know, but I loved it so much. But it was very different.
Yes.
I'm thinking it was straight from the cow.
Straight.
Yeah, straight.
There's
No boxes.
intermediary.
Yeah, exactly. Straight from the cow. So we would have we'd have milk tea. And sometimes it would either be cupcakes or cookies, or some of these bites like samosas or kebabs, just some small bites. And that's what we would have for tea time. And I would remember that all the time because nobody else prepared it like that. It was just my grandma, from my mother's side at least. And it's just, it's such a lovable memory. And yeah, I miss her so much for that. But yeah, so it's always, food was a big thing at my grandma's house. And she's always like making sure we ate, you know. We always see these memes where grandmothers are just like worried about if we've eaten or not. And
Yes.
that's actually so true. And coming to think of it, my grandma was just like that.
No,
So,
it's a beautiful thing. I don't know where it comes from, but you know, it's such a beautiful thing when the grandmother sees it, she's like, "My child, you're
Have
so
you eaten?
skinny.
Yeah.
Have you eaten?"
exactly.
Even if you're put on 10 pounds, it doesn't
Yes,
matter.
it doesn't
You're
matter.
so skinny.
You still
Eat
need
something.
to eat. Absolutely.
May God rest her soul in peace.
Amen,
So,
amen.
coming into the home front, how is food? Like, is it a big part of home now? You said your friends and family are taking care of you and making sure that you are well fed and happy. So how is food on the home front for you right now?
So, my mom and I are both diabetic, right? So,
Interesting.
yes. So it's very important that we're eating everything but in moderation. So I'm
Yes.
type 1, which actually means I could eat anything. Technically, I could eat anything as long as I take my insulin. But as for a type 2, which my mom is more of a lifestyle, like her blood sugar depends on her lifestyle. So she can't eat everything. She has to eat everything in moderation because she controls it with exercise and like she controls the blood sugar with exercise and the food she eats. So we take what we, consume very seriously. It's of course different for me because my food has to be, for one, like super clean. Exactly. So if I'm having fresh vegetables, it has to be properly cleaned. And obviously if you're gonna store it in the refrigerator not longer than 3 days, so it has to be eaten in 3 days and all that stuff. So it's a little bit more serious when it comes to me. But with like both of us, we just have to make sure we're eating everything to get all the recommended,
Macros and micros and
exactly
all those things.
Exactly. But obviously watch how much we take.
Okay. Okay. No, that's actually fascinating. My late father also was diabetic, and I remember that when he did find out that he was diabetic, the whole house's diet changed.
yes. It helps actually because you kind of need a support system.
Absolutely.
You can't do it on your own. Even if you try and think you can, it always comes a time where it's just like it's too much. And if the whole family is doing it with you, then you don't feel alone. So because I live with my sister as well, she kind of also, joins in. It's just like, you know what, I'll do it with you guys. And I'm just like, yes. So then the whole family kind of is into the whole eating healthy.
Okay.
So yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. It's great. It's great that you do have that support system. And as a final question, because we also do not run for very long, I'm curious if you could pinpoint this one thing that you really wish everybody in the world could eat from here, what would it be? There's so many, I'm sure.
It's a lot. And sometimes I feel like it's not really our dish because, for example, like I'd mentioned biryani, but I mean, that sounds like I think it's more of an Indian dish, but it's so good. And it's also prepared very like differently depending on where you go. But what would I say, guys? The plantains really hits different. But I could be also biased. Wow. Gosh. I would, and definitely go for, the thing is, pilau is not my favorite, but I've noticed people prefer pilau over biryani. So I would say between biryani, pilau, and...
Who in the world?
My sister for once, yes.
Okay,
She actually
okay.
prefers pilau. I know, it's crazy, it's wild.
Quite crazy.
Yeah, and so I would say, I'm actually gonna leave pilau out. I'm gonna say biryani. And definitely give the plantains a try. I know a lot of people have found it a bit bland on the taste. Yeah, I know it's crazy too. But if you do it right, and also add the coconut milk, like don't forget the coconut milk.
forget the
Yes,
coconut milk.
it could. It comes out fine, and as well, you gotta eat with the greens. Gotta put in your vegetable intake. So
yes.
definitely have some sort of vegetables with it, and don't forget the meat.
Don't forget
Don't
the meat.
forget the meat.
Don't forget the meat.
Yes,
All right.
definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us on the
It's a
Matamu
pleasure.
podcast. Matamu is still on the road. I hope to be able to bring you guys episodes from the different places that I'm visiting. And I hope that you will continue to listen to this new format. Let us know what you think about it on our Spotify page. I have a poll running there. You can open following the Spotify link down below. And that's it for this episode of Matamu Vibes. And we see you guys soon. Bye-bye.